Hello there, everybody. It is Tom and Adrian.
Hello.
Hi,
How's your
boss.
probation going so far?
Oh my gosh, what a bad start, man. Adrian has already been chastising me for my lack of technical ability, but I was so excited to do this show today. I'm like giddy because this guy is my kind of guy. And we are in a world right now where it isn't the most peaceful place on the planet, the world. I guess it's the world on the planet, but here's where we are. This guy is a philanthropist. He's a huge leader of CEOs in business. He's got all kinds of stuff to do with Harvard. He's a good friend of Mark Victor Hansen, which means he's a good friend of mine. And the reason I say that is because I have, over the years, I've been doing this for so long, I know all the hot shots, and I've had them all on my show. And very few of them are the people on the screen are not the people in real life. You know, they give us the soundbite, but Mark Victor Hansen over the years has been the kindest, the Horatio Alger Award. This guy, when no one's looking, he's giving. And I just think Matt George is cut out of the same cloth. I am in love with him, and you're going to love this show. How do you like him so far?
He is cool as a cucumber under fire. So I'm already a fan for that reason, and have heard so many good things about you from Mark as well. So Matt, welcome to the show.
I love it. Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Tell us a story, Matt. How'd you get to, obviously you've got the accolades from giant business. You've accomplished so much. You're teaching people clarity. You're teaching people direct, straight thought. How'd you get to where you are, and what was the path?
I was a 30-year nonprofit CEO, and I was lucky because right out of college I became a CEO, and I wasn't very good at it. And I realized at about age 30 that I better get my butt in gear. And so I realized the power of mentorship. And I had some of the best mentors in the world, including some Fortune 500 CEOs. And what I realized is how much I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that was fun for me because I was in the learning mode from about age 30 on, and I still am. And so there's nothing more fun to me than learning something new or reading. And so that's how I really got into the business. I started at age 16 because a friend of mine, one day he was sitting next to me in high school, and the next day he was gone. He was battling cancer, and he passed away. And I really felt bad for his family, and I had a lot of emotions going through me. And I thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I was an athlete at the time. I played tennis, and I'm going to do this tennis event and raise money, and ended up raising $3,000 for his family. And at age 16. And when I handed the check to the family, when somebody loses a child, they have the feeling of I'm losing a piece of my soul. And then there's another piece that's the financial hit, that's a kick in the gut. And I wanted to take that piece and solve that for him. And it felt like I gave him $1 million. And from age 16 on, I raised money for charity, and I still do.
Wow.
I just love it. Go ahead.
All right. So you're, and I saw this in your bio. So the tennis thing was a big part of your life for many years, and still is?
It is. It's kind of funny. I after college, I didn't play anymore. I was sick of it. And one of my daughters now is in high school, and I never really told anybody in the last 15, 20 years that I played tennis. And next thing you know, I'm helping out the high school girls tennis team here, and helping my daughter. And so coaching her is like one of the most fulfilling things. I've coached basketball for her, and now tennis, and my son, I've coached baseball and basketball, but tennis was a big part of my life. It actually kept me busy and kept me in shape, and kept me mentally strong. I mean, it's what kept me sharp.
Love that. That's so cool. And the reason I got interested in that for two reasons. One, because I enjoy that too. But I think it's always interesting just thinking about, you know, as somebody who's listening who doesn't come from the world of nonprofits, and, you know, whatever you do can be used as a vehicle to help you to do good for others is one of the things that I've kind of taken away from your story, Matt. And I'm sure you've seen numerous different ways, whether it's sports or other kinds of hobbies or all kinds of different things, where it doesn't have to fit the mold, right? Like you can take that sort of intersection of what you love and your love for others and find ways to fuse those creatively, right?
I mean, exactly. It starts with passion and compassion. I mean, you really have to care. You have to want to do it. You have to want to make change, and then you have to lead. And that's the most important part, because you want other people to see what you're doing and not for the pat on the back. I consider myself a servant leader. I don't care. I deflect praise. I could care less about someone telling me, good job, Matt. But I do like doing a good job or a great job, because if somebody follows in your footsteps and actually can make change themselves, you've done your job as a leader. And that's how I've always looked at it. So I think sports is a great way. And a lot of athletes, and I work with a lot of professional athletes, they've used their power, so to speak, for good. And matter of fact, all the years at the Children's Home, I probably worked with 25 or 30 Hall of Famers that really I got into the mix, including Ryan Sandberg, who, yeah, he was a big supporter of ours, and I worked with him for 25 years, and he was just one of many. And it's important because they also want to give, and they have leverage. And leverage is the most important thing in fundraising. It's taking that and using, and they're letting you use their celebrity, but using them for good. And it makes them feel good, but it also benefits the nonprofit.
You ever heard the name Murphy Jensen?
Yeah,
he won the French Open.
Yes,
he's a great tennis player, but he had a stroke, and he's a buddy of mine now. And you know, he's doing some nonprofit stuff, and he's a guy you should know probably because he's just a great guy. And out there in the world I live in, I haven't had a drink in 37 years, so I'm in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous and suicide prevention and all that jazz all the time. And I'm always approached with people with phenomenal ideas, but they don't know how to fund it. And they don't, you know, they've got the passion, they've got the compassion, but they don't know how to get there from here. What's your advice to all these people out there that have the heart for it, but they're flying blind, including buying your books, where that's a given, but what else?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is collaboration is a word that nobody knows the definition of. I mean, it's like they think they know the definition, but they don't. And what it usually means to me is when I hear people say they collaborate, they don't collaborate for the right reasons. It's either selfish or it's to promote my business. It's collaboration is you having an idea, or you having it could be for profit or nonprofit, and then you thinking that you're the first to do it. Someone's already done it. And so why wouldn't you, if you're sitting here in the nonprofit world and you want to make actual change, why wouldn't you do your homework and find people that are best in class of doing it and then ride their coattails? And if you're doing it for the right reason, as a servant leader, which a lot of people do have that John Maxwell mentality of it's all about the people.
Yeah.
If you really, truly believe that, then you'll find what the true definition of collaboration is.
Wow. So almost all of them are, in my world, are dead broke. So they're starting from zero or maybe less than zero. And they come to me because they know I'm connected and they know I have some dough. But I don't have the heart necessarily for anything other than maybe alcoholic. I have a heart for alcoholics and drug addicts and all that stuff, and the mental health people. But I want to help those people that are, you know, that adamant about cancer. My mother, his grandmother, was she was such a maniac on the American Cancer Society because my sister ran Colorado for the Cancer Society.
Okay.
She drug us to those relays for life every weekend forever. It was the greatest thing in the world, and it taught me so much. And then her daughter went on to be the head of the Crohn's and Colitis
Oh, wow.
organization in Colorado, just because they got what you're talking about, which passion and compassion. And anything can be done with the right people and the right belief, right?
Right. Right. And it's finding people that want to truly collaborate and actually scale. Like people will sit here and say, well, nonprofits, they're not there. 501c3s are not there to make money. What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I was never in the red. I always made money. And the reason why is because you have to have money to make change. So mission scope, if you really truly have a mission that you believe in, and you have the scope of your business or program or whatever it is, you have to have money to drive it. It's no different than a for-profit. And so you have to sit there and to figure out how to scale your business, which nonprofits are business. I mean, I ran the children's home. We were a $36 million annual budget. We had 515 employees. We had 54 programs, 1,700 kids a month flowed through our agency. We were bigger than 10 Chick-fil-A's combined, and so my point of this is I always laugh when people talk about, well, nonprofits, if they can just break even. Well, I mean, that's like investing into Blockbuster instead of Google. That mentality makes no sense to me. So like, I want to do the best at running my nonprofit. I'm going to run it that way to scale the nonprofit, because if I scale it, I can help and affect more people. And it's plain and simple, but most people don't look at it that way. And a lot of directors and CEOs of nonprofits, the good ones will know what I'm talking about. But if you're sitting here and you go from the program standpoint of, I have to do this, and our outcomes are the most important. Of course they're important, but the driver of every program is cash.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. And so I'm curious, because I would imagine most people who kind of get into that line of work come at it from a perspective of, I just want to help a lot of people, right? And that's, and to your point, right, they kind of come in with this worldview of, that's about just putting out a lot of program, or what, it's all about that stuff.
Right.
How have you helped leaders or aspiring leaders to kind of make that transition and learn the skill set of what it takes to run one of these things the right way, so that they can scale to a much larger impact than they would otherwise be able to have?
I think a good CEO or director of a nonprofit has to take their C-suite team and their management team and really be very open book of how you run the business. Like, your internal controls have to be strong. Your fundraising has to be strong. We had 54 programs, which in a sense could mean 54 audits. We would probably average 15 to 20 audits a year program wise. And to get that money back the next year, you had a fiduciary responsibility to do the right thing. You had the community responsibility to have the outcomes. So like in our homeless youth program, we had outcomes that we had to hit, milestones that we had to hit to be able to get funded. And then to understand that if a state or federal funding or whatever it may be, United Way, if somebody cuts your funding, then what do most people do? They think, well, I'm going to have to cut my program. I never had that mentality. And my mentality was, so we're going to cut because a political person is telling us we're going to get dinged and they're going to take away $500,000. Well, then it was my job to go to the public and raise that money or figure out how to backfill those programs so that the communities didn't get affected. And so it's really, you preach it, you think it, but every meeting we had, it had a finance component.
Sure.
It had a fundraising component, and then you had to be very transparent. And that's another word, like collaboration. Nobody knows what transparency means. It means showing everybody how to run a business, how to do it right, how to do it ethically right, have passion, compassion, and empathy and sympathy. If you have that recipe, it equals success, especially in the nonprofit world.
What do you do if you have a nonprofit you're real familiar with, where the guy that's the main guy is kind of a goofball, where he's spending money stupidly, and you can just tell that while it's working, it could be working a ton better? Do you just say a prayer and say, get it straightened out? Or do you have any kind of recourse to just say, look, I don't think you need to be doing what you're doing when you're not doing your foundation? And I'm troubled by a nonprofit that I'm around.
Yeah.
I just think they could be doing far more. They've got a ton of money, and it bugs me. And I just wonder how to do that. Maybe get on their board and raise hell, or what?
Well, the board, there's the board is very important, and the board has a fiduciary responsibility to manage not only the dollars coming in, but the board's job's not to run the business. But if the CEO is not running the business correctly, that could fall back onto the board. So it is the board's responsibility not to run it, but to oversee it. And so there are different, I guess, maybe strategic initiatives or whatever you want to call them, to be able to hold the CEO accountable. I loved that because I wanted to be not only open with my board, because it led to them opening doors too, but I wanted to be the best. And so you have to run an impactful program. You have to have somebody in there that understands what the community's needs are, or what the mission is, and not just what's on paper. Like, a lot of times what will happen is you'll see a mission and it'll be like 15 sentences long. And I'll go in and I'll assess or audit a nonprofit, and I'll go, I could be the CEO for 20 years and still not remember this mission. Yeah. Let's simplify this. It's not 1980. And so what I would say to that example is, board number one and your checkbook number two, then don't support it, because you know that the dollars are either being pigeonholed somewhere where they shouldn't be, or the brand, which is a whole nother piece to nonprofits that's key. The brand is why a lot of people give, not just the mission. So I always said, like, if I'm doing something right, it didn't matter if I was selling Girl Scout cookies, or if I was at Red Cross, or pet shelter, or whatever. I had a group of people that followed and wrote checks because they knew who I was and how I managed.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so that's what you have to do. And you have to decide. It becomes a personal choice, but you'll see a lot of nonprofits struggling right now. And a lot of times the easy fallback is the climate. They'll sit here and say, oh, they pulled funding or this and that. A lot of times it starts with leadership.
Yeah.
Or lack of leadership.
I'm curious your perspective about kind of funding, how to think about funding sources for someone who is running a nonprofit, is thinking about starting one. Obviously there's grants out there. There's all these different kinds of categories of how you might bring in the funding for your nonprofit. How do you think about the benefits and drawbacks of those different things?
Well, the first thing I do is I tell everybody, whether it's a board, or if a board hires me, or if a CEO hires me, the first thing I do is an assessment to kind of see where their revenue streams are. But again, think about what I'm saying. This is what you do in a for-profit, right?
Yep.
And then you'd sit here and you'd analyze every one of these revenue streams, and you'd find weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And you'd say, okay, Special events is this, grants are this, community support is this, federal is this, states this. And you'd sit here and you'd kind of do an audit of this and try to figure out where we're seeing gaps, and then answer the question why, and then put together a strategy. You know, most nonprofits will sit here and they'll say, we have to have a strategy for our 990, or we have to have a strategy for our board, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And they'll put together a strategy, which will be a garbage strategy that they won't follow. They'll put it, you know, the old saying of collecting dust over on the bookshelf, but it's very true. What I do is I sit here and I show them, you have to have dashboards. You have to have metrics that can align with. So I had in HR, I had 15. My HR CHRO, she had 15 different metrics per month, and every month, here's where we're at. CFO, here's where we're at. And one of the things that was tied to the CFO is no findings in the audit. And, you know, they're different things. And then we had, you know, our COO, and everybody would have, you know, different metrics, and it all ties to the strategy.
Yeah.
So what will happen, to answer your question, is there has to be a fundraising or a fund strategy. So if it's a foundation, it could be a different strategy than like what I ran, where I had special events and I used celebrities and athletes. And I live in Illinois, and Caterpillar was one of my biggest sponsors ever. They still support what I do. It's a great company. And then I had Maui Jim sunglasses, and they were my overall biggest donor. And so the CEO president CEO at Maui Jim was, his dad grew up in a children's home. And so I had this connection, and we had this support. And so I would go in to my top donors, and I think this is very important, my top funders and donors, and I would do a year end or fiscal mid-year, however the fiscal year was, to their business. And I'd say, I wanted to give you a recap of what your funding did for us.
Yeah.
And here's the
Wow.
Yeah.
That's another thing about that kid, the guy. I give him money all the time, and I give him my connections all the time to give them money. And then I run into him and I say, what's going on? Did you talk to this person, this person, this person? He never remembers one person that I gave him that gave him money, and doesn't remember I gave him money. And don't you just, is that the opposite of what should be happening? You should be kissing their ass.
I mean, to be honest with you, I would question you why you're giving them the money. Like, so stewardship is king right now, right? And so if I asked you for $10,000 and you wrote a check for $10,000, I would have a lot of conversations with you like this. I'd say, Tom, I appreciate this. How do you want to be communicated to? Here's what I do.
Yeah.
I can send you a monthly update. I can send you a quarterly. I had a donor who said to me, here's my check. Don't call me until next year. I'll give it to you again next year. Don't talk to me. I had another donor and this was a big donor, and he said to me, Matt, come in here and show me your numbers. I want to see everything from labor on down, how you're running the business. And if you are doing a good job running the business, I'll even write you a bigger check. And I did.
So you got to almost ask them what their love language is, and then they tell you, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what everybody should do. You have to, as a donor, you have a right to hold anybody accountable, because you stroke the check.
That will be a YouTube sound clip that I'm going to send him. Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you. Because it's frustrating to me. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, is that something you do? Do you do any consulting for these I've got two unbelievable people that are trying to buy a piece of dirt to put in a place for veterans that they feel safe with all the depression and the suicide going on. It's not a ton of money. They just need to know how to do it. Is that something you consult people on?
Yeah. I mean, we come in and we help with, right now we have, there it is on the screen now. I work with athletes. I work with foundations. I go in and I even have a CEO of a group that I'm helping show how to be a CEO.
Yeah.
He was put into the position, but he's an awesome program guy. So this guy is a really great guy. But he doesn't really quite understand the funding streams and doesn't quite understand how to scale what he needs to scale because the need's there. So yeah, we come in and we do usually a 2-day assessment on site, and we sit down with your team and we show you a plan and tell you where we think we're going to go with this. And we come back and we end up putting together a strategy for you or a business plan with you that is doable, not one that we just hand off and say, here you go, now you go do it, because they're gonna throw it down. So I work with a group right now, and he's tied loosely to the PGA and has a huge connection there, and he doesn't know how to implement the strategy.
Have you ever heard the name Darren Prince?
Oh, I know Darren. Yeah.
I think he's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
I think, for the celebrities and his little foundation, his own, I'm glad you know him. You guys just feel similar to me.
Yeah. Matter of fact, if he works with the Anna David, who actually published my first book, Anna David published Darren's book.
Yeah. Aiming high.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, I'm watching him just do some serious good out there in the.
He's a star.
Well, I want to help you, man. That's all. I mean, that's the story of my life is, it works when you find good people. And when I get these calls and I don't know anything, they just know I know a lot of people. If I can send them to glassrootpartners.com, I've got a shot. And you guys all need to buy these books. What's that one called, Adrian? I can't see the screen.
That's Starfish Among Us.
Fish Among Us.
That's the one I read. And then this one here, the non-profit game plan. And the third one is the non-profit profit. And this guy is the guy you want to know. And if you're going to go do something, do it right. And you start from the beginning right. You don't have to restructure it halfway through because you just did it with your heart, not your head. What I love about Matt is he's done it. He's an intellectual. He's involved with CEOs all over the place. He's not going to steer you wrong. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And I think there's just even all the way up to the biggest foundations in the world that are going, it's just top to bottom. It's so important for these things to be run well, and it's so easy for them to not be run well because there's not you don't have the market, you don't have the invisible hand of the market quite the same way, or you don't see it as clearly until it's too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah. I have a saying that it's your job to take care of the community that you live in, and if you want to debate me, you will lose.
Yeah, there you go.
So the people at Maui Sunglasses, you got that guy to really get heavily involved with your nonprofit. When you walked in the door to sit down across the desk from that guy, had you done enough research to realize that he'd grown up in a situation that your particular charity was serving, or was that just blind luck?
No, so this is where the communication piece is key. So he was helping Children's Home, and I was talking to my board chair, and I said, why does he give to us? Like, what is exactly the reason? And there was some, mixed feelings of why he gave. So I said, well, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go talk to him. So I called him up and I sat with him. And he was so cool. And he was like, my grandpa grew up, or my dad grew up in a children's home, Matt. And I wanted you to know, as long as I'm part of this, we're. And so then my big next question was, will you give me the heads up if something happens, like if you're stepping down or if you sell the company or something, because when we rely so heavily on a group, that it could change the whole budget and the whole forecast of the upcoming year, because we had one of the largest golf tournaments in the country. I mean, and I get credit for it, but it was Maui Jim. And we when I left Children's Home and stepped down, the last event that we did, just on the golf tournament alone, we raised 1.2 million.
Holy mackerel.
That's a nut right there.
Well, good for you, man. I love you. And, you just said something profound when you accidentally said heavenly. And that's it, pretty much. I mean, the name of the game is be completely centered toward doing the next right thing and given with your passion and your compassion. And everything's going to work out. And I'm just telling all of you, if you want to get, now I got Darren Prince, so I'll call him. And I want to help you, because I feel your heart. And I told you I love Mark and I love what you guys are doing. And I'm always looking for common denominators, a place to help people. So thank you so much for coming on. You are a rock star. Anything else you want to say to these people before we let you get out of here?
Well, the one thing I'm talking to a lot of schools on right now, and I think it's very important to everybody, to really push this narrative, and I believe in it so much, is that there's people that young people that want to get into this business, but then there's so many people that aren't getting into this business. And it's not just social service. We're talking about psychologists and speech path and nursing and special ed teachers and social workers. And so what I tell kids all over the country when I go speak, and that's why one of the reasons why I wrote Starfish Among Us, is because it really caters to middle school and high school. There's 25 life lessons in that book.
Yeah.
And the reason why I take this book with me is because it's about taking care of each other. And if we can push that into the middle schools and the high schools to say, listen, stop this garbage of violence and mouthing and bullying and all this stuff on social media and everything else, and understand that if you had the feeling when I was 16 of helping that family, you might be able to get into the business and become the next nonprofit prophet.
Wow.
So that's why I wrote Nonprofit Profit, is because Shark Tank, they nicknamed me, Kevin Harrington, the original shark on Shark Tank, nicknamed me the Nonprofit Prophet. And when I went on my cross country tour, I hit 61 cities, and I said to everybody, I said, listen, I don't feel like I can make change in every city, but you can be your own nonprofit prophet. Yeah. Like, you have to take care of the community and the city and all these kids that are coming up, and show them that they can make change within their own community and feel good, and then have their kids do the same thing. And that's the most important thing.
So you met with, come over here, Michelle. The person that is the liaison for this show, and actually the mother of Adrian and I, is this woman right here. And
she's awesome.
Oh my God, you've never met any. She's got more nonprofits running out of her. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you need to call him, because this woman's capable of changing not only Colorado, but the country. She thinks like you do. All she needs is some form around what she's doing. And there are so many Michelle Griouts out there. I'm just imagining her at the middle school where Adrian's kids go to school, because this is the kind of person that's going to grab that ball and run with it.
Yeah, maybe I need to come out and not only meet with Michelle, but maybe go to the schools around there, because Michelle talked about being a foster parent and the change that she's done in her community, and people like that are angels. I mean, those people are just so blessed, and if we had more people like Michelle, then our world would be a better place. So I appreciate you.
Before the show started, you were on the microphone. Did you hear me ask her if she'd been able to even shower? Did you hear me say that? I
I
did.
didn't hear that.
She is helping some people so much 24/7. She doesn't even have time to take a shower. And I'm going, why don't you tell her family? And she said, because I love them so much. And this woman, her heart is far bigger than her brain, and we're going to help her. So thank you so much. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thank
We
you.
love you, and what a show. And thank you. We'll be on the air and nothing flat.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.